as a nation, and I know there are pockets of great poverty and so on, but as a nation we've become extremely wealthy, and as such we're now 25 million people. When we were 4.5 to 5 million, we took care of our defence. Now we're 25 million. We seem to think that we're all okay, that our distances are fine and there couldn't be a war and the trade will all solve all the issues and all these sorts of things. And we haven't taken responsibility for our own defence. We're 25 million people among the wealthiest little countries in the world. We are surrounded by a large moat, but we've got to make sure that that moat, the island structures are all in our general area, that we help, we become great friends to, and that we can defend our own neck of the woods. And this requires fundamentally naval and air power, but it also requires a strong and mobile and highly effective army. And that's the ADF as a whole. But we have to wake up while there's still time.
As you say, we are quite a wealthy country, but here's something that staggers people when I say it to them. Russia is seen as a global power. People are concerned about what Russia might do. They're aware that it's very powerful. The Australian economy is the same size as Russia's. No one sees us as a threat, and we don't want to be a threat. We simply want to be seen as people who will stand up for our values and play a constructive role if someone needs to enforce the peace. But it's an interesting point, isn't it, that we sometimes hear people say, oh, no, if anything nasty happens, we're not big enough to make a difference. When we were 4.5 million people, we were able to build a second-tier navy and be massively instrumental in the outcome of the First World War on the battlefields. We celebrate that every year. Even in the Second War, when we finally got our act together, we played a critical role in a couple of the major battles of the Second World War. Now, there seems no excuse for us in an age when we can't assume that the superpower of the day, once it was Britain, now it's America, will be fully able to support us if something goes wrong. Surely we ought to be able to step up and recognise our size, our wealth, and the desirability of standing for the freedoms that we think matter.
I think it was Rommel, who was the Desert Fox, a German general in the First World War, who said, if I was to take hell, I'd use the Australians to take it and the New Zealanders to hold it. You know, that was when we were 5 million people. And yet, no, we shouldn't have a memorial.
See, I like John Anderson, but that's why politicians are bad wartime leaders. He wants to be with his mate. What was the former words he used? We don't want to see him a threat. Yes, we are supposed to be seen as a threat. That's exactly how you negotiate. Once again, grow up, kids. Negotiations between countries aren't done because it's in our mutual benefit. Negotiations are done because if you don't do business, you're going to lose. That's the real world.
Yeah.
This nonsense, we want to be seen as everyone's mate. Grow up, for God's sake. We need, and this is, you can check out A1 policy. We are at war. Point number one, we're already at war. China has won.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah.
So to pretend that we're not at war and time's running out, time ran out some time ago. You're about to be forcibly injected with vaccines made in China. Congratulations, or made somewhere else.
That's right.
We have no capacity to produce our own vaccines. We have no capacity to produce our own military equipment. Our policy is to have 3 major primes producing military equipment for us. Our policy is to have our own design and manufacture of computer chips, because it's the equivalent of having gunpowder when the others didn't.
Yeah.
That's the power of the chip. It's our policy to have sea, air and special operations forces, space forces. We're going to have long-range capabilities and expeditionary capabilities so we can fly in, sail in, march in if we need to, do a job and get out. Nation building is out. Winning wars and killing bad guys is back in vogue. So the gay bar loiterers that are currently running the Defence Force will be out of a job very, very quickly, because we cannot afford to be undefended. For the first time in our history, we will, under an A1 government, be capable of defending ourselves independent of our neighbours, independent of the superpowers.
Yeah.
We have to stand up on our own 2 feet and act like grown-ups instead of saying, Daddy, can you come and help me, please?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, but that moment has passed.
Yeah.
We need to be intimidating militarily.
That's right.
So people treat us with respect because that's all they understand. And once again, at the risk of repeating myself, if you take the Christian bit out of our Western democracy, the turn the other cheek and act of grace doesn't exist in the other religions. You take a step back, they take a step forward.
That's right.
I believe in a very muscular Christianity. Let's put it that way. And so, no, love John Anderson, that's fantastic, but he's so bloody wrong. We are not everybody's best mate, and that's why we've got China buying every freaking politician they can buy. That's why they've taken over Papua New Guinea, and I was there in 90 to 91, and the Chinese were in there buying up everything, and they're still doing it now.
Yeah.
And the Australian imbeciles would send their $300 million of untied aid to PNG,
Yeah.
and that just went walkabout.
Yeah.
We got the island chain being bought up by China. We are at war. We have corrupted and treasonous politicians selling us out at every moment.
Yeah.
We are at war. We have lost. It's time to fight back.
Yeah.
We are actually on the back foot. We have lost. So to say we have to be ready for China, grow up. And this applies to Hastie and Molan and the other cowards in Canberra that will not speak. And they are, whatever they once were as officers, brave men, I don't doubt. But now you're nothing but cowards because you won't speak. You hedge. You pretend. It's almost like you took an oath to somebody else or to something else to conceal and never reveal. No, we have lost the war. They're just going to roll the military in after the fact.
Yeah.
They've done it economically.
Yeah. And in John's defence, I just want to make the point, this is a 2 year ago conversation, early 2019. I'd be very curious to hear what he's saying now. And I have had chats with John, and I don't reveal my private conversations.
No, and don't expect you to, but bloody politicians is all I can say.
No, absolutely. I totally agree.
Bloody politicians.
Maybe it is out of time. Maybe there was time.
No, 2 years ago it was too late.
Yeah.
It's not like the world changed dramatically in the last 2 years. China has bought and paid for every politician for decades.
Yeah.
And I've said it before, say it again, the new international economic order, implications for Australia, Senate Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs and Defence, February 1980, did the report. Every Prime Minister, every leader of the opposition, every senator and every member of the House of Representatives from all four major parties, Liberal, Labor, Nationals and Greens, have systematically betrayed us and sold us out to just about everybody. So this is not 2 years, it's just happened. Bullshit. Yeah. This has been happening for decades. And if they don't know, then they're imbeciles. And if they did know, then they're traitors. It's really straightforward, folks. I don't care how freaking polite you are. But this is treason.
Fourth and fifth generational warfare, that's what we're looking at, guys. If you're not sure what that is, look it up, because what China's been doing, I have to take my hat off to them. They have done a phenomenal job, and they've been aided and abetted by our own government, and it's amazing.
And once again, China is not the power. China is the means by which the globe will be controlled. It is a system, as I've explained once before, and I showed you the evidence. China was created by the deep state after World War, the US deep state after World War II. They disarmed Chiang Kai-shek and the Democratic Chinese. They made sure that Mao Zedong was armed, and Chiang Kai-shek got punted off to Taiwan. They created it. They needed it. And now they've decided this is the model by which the planet will be run. So Xi Jinping isn't some universally powerful individual. He's on a string. He's a marionette puppet like everybody else. That's just the means by which the globalists will take control of this country, and nothing will stop them except us.
Yeah.
And by us, I do not mean the ADF, because the ADF right now is utterly incapable.
Oh, God.
It's led by cowards and imbeciles, and the poor diggers at the bottom end of it, they're stuck. No, the whole place needs a revamp. Yeah. The ADF from top to bottom needs to be cleaned out and resorted. Yeah. And the Australian people have to stand up and start demanding better from everybody.
Yeah. And I know the analytics bear this out, because, guys, I see all the analytics on these videos. Every time you talk about the ADF, it does extraordinarily well. When I say well, I mean hundreds of thousands of views each video that you do on the ADF, and I distribute. It's crazy.
Now imagine, that's because I know the ADF and I can dive in with detail. Now imagine if I had a legal background and I could dive into legal detail. Yeah. Imagine if I was, a bureaucrat, I could dive into the administrative detail.
Yeah.
Imagine if I was a doctor, I could dive in. Imagine if I was, fill in the blank. Yeah. In fact, I'll give you one. You remember the live sheep export debacle where we had to shut down the live export trade because of the horrendous result of Australian live exports and how bad it was. Well, I was contacted by one of the vets that actually looks after the beasts on the ships.
Yeah.
And I said, right, tell me what your experience is. He said, not a problem, I'll tell you. Here's the truth of it. Australia demands the highest, and this is not the government, the controlling organisation demands the highest standards for the entire chain, from the farm, travelling to the ship, on the ship, and then the slaughterhouses around the world. Now, the reason that's important is because the animals are treated well up to slaughter. It's critical. Now, the fact that they wanted to shut down our live exports was completely unnecessary. The entire industry was shattered, courtesy of imbecilic politicians, but I repeat myself. Now, if we shut down our trade, guess what happens? The slaughterhouses around the world will go back to the barbaric halal, cut their throat in the street and let them bleed out. What we demand, this is Australia, not the government. Once again, don't let the police take the credit for this. This is by the industry to make sure that it had longevity. They made sure the animals are stunned before they're killed. So it's humane. No, you take Australia out of this live export business, then you've got millions of animals being killed in Middle Eastern countries and elsewhere in the most brutal way, particularly for the halal market.
Well done.
So well done. Now, how did they get the industry shut down? Well, the police wanted it. They just needed an excuse. But there was a group that paid the Pakistani or whatever they were, the Bangladeshi people on board who were paid to look after the sheep. They offered them $35,000. Now think about how much that means to some Paki that's sitting on a ship guarding sheep.
Wow.
Right, we'll give you $35,000 if you can give us vision of animals being maltreated.
Yeah.
So what did they do? They hosed them down. Now, what do you do when you hose down a bunch of sheep in close confinement and you don't muck out the feces? And then within a short period of time, they created the disaster.
Yeah.
And this is the allegation. They created the disaster, filmed it, and shut down the industry. Now, there was an alleged investigation, which I don't believe in a second was honest, but there was an investigation. And this group, this animal welfare group, was allegedly exonerated. I think it was a complete stitch-up. They provided the incentive. The drama was fabricated by the Pakistani sailors who were looking after the sheep. The film got sent back. The industry was shut down in seconds. No need. Now, that's just because I spoke to a vet. Now, as I said, getting back to the point, if you speak to any particular profession, that they can dive into the detail. As I said, once the depth of the depravity of treasonous behaviour and seditious behaviour is revealed to the Australian people, I'm going to look like a bloody moderate.
Yeah.
I'll have to hold them back. It'll be like, Mel Gibson in Braveheart, hold, because there's going to be a revolution and I won't be starting it. It'll be the logical consequence of bloody politicians doing what they've been doing for decades.
Yeah. Part of me thinks not even Trump could have held back what some of the protesters wanted to do in Congress.
They were fine. No, I reckon the Trump supporters, they're law and order types. You ever seen a Trump rally? They actually pick up their own rubbish when they leave. The place is pristine. The left have a rally and there's crap everywhere.
Climate change rally.
So the fact that Trump supporters storm Congress, give me a break, grow up.
Yeah.
At no point ever has a Trump rally descended into violence, ever in 4 years.
That's right.
Not once.
And don't say Charlottesville. That was not a Trump rally. That was not.
Stop believing these imbeciles on TV, please, folks. For God's sake, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
On that topic.